Hey guys, welcome back. BDCKR here. This is our Q&A series, Season 2, Episode 24. Our first question comes from Mercado, not sure how to pronounce that, but let us know if you watch. And they ask, from what I've noticed in online matches, if you use the same fourth world, your enemy heals faster than you do, even though you both use the same fourth world set.
That's actually one thing I hadn't noticed, but I'm not surprised, because there's more than a few things that the game does to give the AI, short for artificial intelligence, a slight advantage. Because I guess for those who've been playing don't even realize, some people, I'm always surprised every once in a while when I see a comment, but maybe I shouldn't be, that people think that we're actually playing against real people, but we're not.
Yeah.
It's the artificial intelligence using a defensive team to play against us. And I guess we've seen how not great the artificial intelligence is in Injustice 2, for example, when we do it on autoplay, where we let the AI fight both our team and the defense team.
Yeah, and you can lose pretty easy fights.
Yeah. So it's those kind of things, like whether it's the fourth world gear set being a little bit better.
I think in that case, too, they also probably kneecap your AI a little bit on purpose.
It's possible. But, listen, the AI's got some advantages, and it almost makes up for the advantage that we have of being, humans.
Yeah, being able to react to stuff, being able to develop strategy.
Right, and so off the top of my head, I can think of at least a few, right? So first, the AI gets to complete a combo even if it's blocked.
Yeah.
So that gives it a dual advantage, like a huge dual advantage, of sometimes either processing the combo ender and any combo ender effects.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, that means they build up power faster because they're getting more hits. Every hit, even if it's blocked, builds up power for them. So, you might notice that if you both take turns attacking and then blocking, the AI gains power way faster.
Yeah, so they actually gain power faster just naturally, too.
Yes. And things that have a chance of processing in general, whether it's like a certain percentage chance of stun or whatever, or a certain percentage of evasion, they seem to process way more for the AI.
Yeah.
Which is why it was so frustrating, actually, when I can't remember which update it was. It was either 2.14 or 2.15.
I think it was 2.15, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, the AI was able to start juggling us.
Yeah.
So they don't need that. I mean, that's one of the few things that we can do, supposedly the AI can't do, by fully committing to another attack before we're actually finishing another combo or thinking about blocking or doing anything like that.
Yeah, but one place where you can notice where you really get the advantage over the AI is when you play characters that require strategies to beat them, such as Raven, right?
Right.
Or Bane, when you're playing him with the stun.
Luchador Bane.
Yeah, Luchador Bane, when you're playing him with the stun combo. And Raven.
Alright, so when you say stun combo, you're talking about the classical sort of Cloak of Destiny, League of Assassins knives, and maybe LexCorp Gauntlets, or maybe Razagul Scimitar if you need to build up a bar of power without back row on your team.
Yeah, because it might be a pain in the butt to face those, but you can see when the enemy AI is facing them, they're falling into kind of exactly the traps that we as a player are actively trying to avoid, and that we build strategies to push, kind of play around, right?
Right.
So our next question is a kind of general scattershot question about stuff we've been asked about Injustice 2.
It's a gestalt of all. Is that the right word? I think
don't
a combination.
know.
It's like a mishmash of all the different questions that people have been asking, because we've got a ton of questions about Injustice 2.
So people have asking us questions about glitches. They've been asking us about how Injustice, or sometimes they're just commenting, not always asking a question, about how Injustice 2 is a mashup of a lot of other games. And then people are also asking, if we're going to play it. A lot of people are opining whether we should play it or not.
Opining?
I don't know.
I think it's opining.
Opining. Either way, we're trying to use big fancy words. And
what's fun, actually, what's interesting and funny is that, to me, that's like a sign of a well-read person when they actually read more and have a better vocabulary than what they're actually exposed to in conversation.
So they can't pronounce words, but they know
It's true.
Words?
It's funny, but it's true. Okay, so getting to the actual question about glitches. All right, so definitely we will post glitches for Injustice 2 as soon as we're aware of them and can test them out for ourselves. But the qualifier is that's if we're still playing, we will. All right, because one thing to keep in mind is that it's a game that requires always being connected to the server. So it means that's much more likely that we'll be finding any glitch of significance.
And it's also easier to kind of like live patch that stuff out.
Right.
It's easier to prevent people from doing it.
So as an example, right, of things that we've tried that don't work is the current breakthrough glitch, which in Injustice 1 require you do a time zone shift to get the breakthrough more often. It does not work in Injustice 2, at least the way I've done it.
Because I think once you're connected to online, they can actually just use an internally consistent clock for your account.
Oh yeah, they just have a counter.
Yeah.
Right, and they just count the total number of times that you should be doing it.
Yeah, and it's associated with your account data online. They could do that just as easily as having anything else.
I mean, they could do that with breakthrough too, right? Injustice 1, they just haven't.
Yeah.
And you mentioned too, there's been a lot of comments about how Injustice 2, people have been sort of making comments and judging it based on how it looks or doesn't look like other games.
And it does take like very liberally from a lot of games, but I think more than taking from any specific game, what it does is it kind of steals a lot of the negative aspects of the genre of mobile games more than anything else. What with its extra currencies and its pay-to-win model, right? All that stuff is in a lot of other games, and you can point to similar games that have it, but I think more than it being a symptom of them taking from a game, it's a symptom of them adopting and really kind of wholeheartedly accepting the mobile game like cash grab model.
But see, and you call it a cash grab, and I think that's a totally fair interpretation. But I also wonder if part of the issue isn't that it's that bad, because it's taking from other successful games, right, that have been successful for the developers as far as generating income. My thing is, I think our downfall or our problem is looking at Injustice 2 through the lens of Injustice 1, because if it wasn't named Injustice, and if it wasn't the second part of it, and it wasn't the same developers,
it would be an okay game.
I think we'd probably, because, okay, so it's a grindy game, but we've been spoiled a little bit by Injustice 1, where, you know, we have the chance of finishing the game, the chance of getting a complete collection,
and the chance of playing as much as you want to. That's pretty significant.
Yep. And here's the thing, too. I think at least in Injustice 2, there's a few minor tweaks that make it, I'm not saying I love it, but that make it a lot more playable, right? The fact that Matchmaker in an arena is more transparent, right, with the threat levels.
And what I really love is being able to pick which guy you fight. You can cycle through them.
That's exactly what I was going to say, because then you can pick whether you want a totally balanced team with the same threat level, or something with, you know, one guy even sometimes. Yeah. A team with one guy on it. What
I don't like about that is that it potentially gives you the ability to not plan for certain strategies, if there are strategies that develop in a meaningful context, like if there's a meta to the game that develops, and you don't have to worry about facing those guys, because every time you see them you say, nope, not those ones, and you can swipe away.
I totally agree with that. I mean, the best part of Injustice 1 to me, mainly because I'm not such a big fan of having to play things, you know, like the right tap swipe thing kind of perfectly, is the strategy. Planning out the team that gives you the best chance of taking on, you know, the world.
And that was kind of what Injustice 2 took away in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah.
Because it took away the ability to really kind of grab whoever you want and upgrade whoever you want to a certain extent, as long as they were in the store. So for the majority of characters in Injustice 1, there's a way to kind of get them, and either just them or them and some other guys. And in Injustice 2, it's kind of the opposite, right? Where there's almost no way to get just a guy, just one dude.
But if, I gotta say, let me put it this way, if we'd never had the chance to play Injustice 1, would that have bothered us so much, or would that just have been the reality we'd be used to? Because, you know, again, like you're saying, it's taking liberally from a lot of other games.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have had the chance to collect so much and be so complete. I mean, Injustice 2 is not for completionists, but then what other mobile games are when they're like this, these kind of collecting fighting games?
Yeah, there aren't too many.
I mean, think about, all right, another example, Pokemon. I mean, how popular is it now? I know at one point it was hugely popular.
It's still pretty popular. It's still pretty big.
And given that there's some really rare Pokemons, right, some legendaries, I think that you just can't get unless you go to special sites.
Event legendaries. Special physical sites in the real world at certain times.
Right. So, I mean, maybe it's not for us, but we were, I don't want to say raised, because it's only been 3 years. We weren't exactly raised on it, but
we were taught.
Yeah. And, I mean, this is what we know, right?
Yeah.
So, has that spoiled us for Injustice 2? Maybe.
Probably. I think the thing is, we probably wouldn't have invested as much time as we did already if it wasn't an Injustice title, but we also probably would have been a lot happier with the time we did put in if it wasn't an Injustice title.
Yeah.
So it's a kind of funny trade-off.
And there may be a little bit more that plays into it, right? Because part of it is we didn't care nearly as much for, say, WWE Immortals because we don't really follow wrestling outside of the game. And they're trading off on our nostalgia. I mean, not entirely. I mean, if you're still reading DC Comics, obviously it's not nostalgia, but your affinity for certain characters.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, yes and no. I mean, I don't know how much of it is at play, but if it wasn't Injustice, then I probably wouldn't have started. It wasn't DC comic book characters. I probably wouldn't have started playing Injustice 2, and I wouldn't have minded so much, but then I wouldn't have really wanted to play so much to begin with.
And there's also kind of, we need to keep in mind that not all of it's the developer's fault. Because part of the issue is, one of the things that made Injustice so playable was the glitches, right? It actually let us fully max out everything, right? In a way that we wouldn't have been able to. Otherwise, like, it would have taken us a lot longer, right? Where even though it was possible, it wasn't really kind of realistically attainable at the level that we're playing at, and frankly, at the time investment that we have, right? Yeah. It would have been, like, really kind of hard to stay afloat, right? And to a certain point, it was the glitches that actually allowed us to to max everything out.
Yeah, and then it changes the game, right? It stops being a grinding, collecting game.
And it starts being a strategy game.
Yeah, you get to actually enjoy the fighting, which is, it's pretty good.
Yeah, and the amount of maintenance on actually keeping a full collection once you have one is relatively low with the speed that they infuse new content into the game. As long as you have a challenge reset, you don't even need to have grind that much money, right?
Right.
To use it. So the problem is, Injustice isn't even as good as Injustice is without all the glitches, right? And we've seen that a little bit more recently. If we did not have a full collection already, if we were like halfway there or something, it would have gotten a lot more daunting and a lot more frustrating kind of all in one fell swoop, right?
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. And I've seen some comments to that effect. I don't know how prevalent it is, but I've seen some comments to that effect saying, you know what, the glitches is what kept me in the game.
Yeah. And I think if you got to the point that we were at before the glitches became unusable, then I think probably like that subset of people don't feel like they're missing out on too much.
Right.
Because keeping afloat is essentially challenge characters, and that's pretty much it.
Right, and now when each update had 3 or 4 challenge characters, that was a little different. Now each update we're just getting 1.
Yeah, and so, you've got a while. You just need to unlock them in the store.
Yeah, and they're a bit more expensive, but still well within reach.
Yeah, they're still doable. I remember even back before, like when I was playing it a lot, but we hadn't used any glitches. We were just right as we were starting.
That was level 40 E5.
Yeah, we could still farm like a good 100,000 credits in a couple hours in a day. So like if you think about having more than a month just to get enough to Elite 10 somebody, that's still a totally reasonable, totally achievable goal, right? Even with just kind of that level of farming. And that's without all of our advanced strategies, that's without us playing higher levels, although it also is probably with us putting a little bit less time into it, because when we started playing, we really had long stretches where we could just play Injustice. But it's still a reasonable kind of goal.
It's funny that they've added so many sort of long-term things, like with Breakthrough on Injustice 1, and now there's so much more grinding to do with Injustice 2.
To be fair, I think part of it is so that they don't have to update this as often, and people can still kind of make their own content for it.
Alright.
But there we go. So that's Last Fight, and that was the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Komoda.